Hello, my name is Kevin Pearies. I'm a Senior Applications Engineer with EXFO. And today, we're going to look at the OTDR using the 4-point markers to evaluate events and connectors in real time. When I was a technician, I used to work on the railroad right-of-way. We had very limited time to look at our events because our splices were so close to the railroad tracks that we actually had to get track warrants to shut down the rail just so we could splice. So we really didn't have a lot of time. And so one of the things that we used to do is we would use the 4-point markers within an OTDR in real time to evaluate our splices as quickly as possible. So I'm going to show you exactly how we do that today with our newer EXFO OTDRs. So I am using the FTB1 Pro version 2 with the FTB 730G V2 transport datacom and OTDR module. So any one of our OTDR modules will do this. The interface might vary slightly, but the general method that I'm using today will apply for all of our EXFO OTDRs. So the first thing I want to do is launch the OTDR module. So I'll go ahead and do that. And so once the application is started, I'm ready to test. So the first thing you need to do, obviously, is inspect and clean your connectors. We're not going to cover that today. That's something that I have in other training videos, so we're not going to focus on that today. So we'll assume that we've already cleaned, or rather inspected and cleaned all of our connections. So real time is done in only one wavelength. This particular OTDR does 1310, 1550. I always like to use the longer wavelengths just in case there's any macro bending. So in this case, I have 1550 selected. I'm not going to worry about range, pulse width, and duration right now. I'm going to tweak those in real time. So I'll show you right now. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and start real time. So in this particular solution, real time is up here at the right. If you have one of our newer platforms, you'll have to check this real time button down here in the bottom to split and activate the real time button here on the right. Some of our platforms will have it over here under duration, and some of them will have it underneath the start button. Either way, all of the OTDRs from EXFO will do real time. So I'm going to go and hit the real time button here. And so what we're doing here is I am adjusting my range and pulse width to the optimized settings. So range is pretty simple. I want to set the range so where I can see the end and I can see the noise. So at 4,100 feet, it runs straight across. At 16,400 feet, we see the end of fiber, but we have a lot of noise here. So we're not really taking advantage of the screen resolution. So 8,200 should be optimized. We see the end of fiber and we see the noise. Now pulse width, if you were shooting an average trace, just a standard average trace, we could probably get away with 5 nanoseconds. But in real time, we don't average out the noise. So I increase the pulse width until the noise flattens out. So here at 50 nanoseconds, we have a nice, flat, clean trace. So I'm going to go ahead and stop real time. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the OTDR tab here to show you that we have a range set for 8,200 and our pulse width still at 50 nanoseconds. So these are the two settings that we used to get that nice, flat, clean trace in real time. So with those settings, I'm going to go ahead and hit start average. So I'm not going to do an average test, not a real time, but an average test. So we'll go ahead and do that. And you see it flattens out here. And so we're going to look at event number 2 here. So I'm going to highlight event number 2. And this event is a reflective event at 1,686 feet, has 0.34 dB of loss, and has minus 65 dB of reflection. So we have great reflection and good loss. So once I have the event highlighted here, I can go over here to the right and you'll see this icon here. This is the zoom to or snap to event. So this will automatically zoom to the highlighted event. On some of our solutions, you'll see that button over here horizontally or even down here at the bottom. But either way, all of our OTDRs have this option. So I'm going to go ahead and select that while I have the event highlighted. And you see we zoom right into it. Now we have a nice clean picture. So this button does two things. It zooms into the event, but it also sets the 4-point markers that were used to measure this event. So you'll see right now it's 0.34 dB and minus 65. Once I switch to the measure tab up here in the top, it turns on our markers, and then you'll see these same two values for loss and reflection right here at the bottom. So splices and connectors are measured using 4 points. You have the two uppercase marker points, the uppercase A and the uppercase B. And these markers need to be right before and right after the event we're going to measure. But remember, this is 4 points, so we have two more markers. We have a lowercase a and a lowercase b. If I were to zoom out here, you'd be able to see them further out. And the trick to these two events is, or these two markers rather, they need to be out as far as possible from the event we're measuring, but not run into another event. So you see the lowercase b is way out here just before event number 3. And the lowercase a is over here by the launch just before the launch. So the lowercase markers need to be as far out as possible. But since I highlighted and zoomed into this event here, it's going to set the markers for us. So again, you highlight the event, you zoom to that event, you switch to measure tab, which turns on the 4-point markers, and now we're able to do our real-time analysis. So once we have these markers in place, we'll go ahead and hit start real time. And so we'll use those same values that we used to measure real time earlier. Now, every once in a while, you might have to move one of these cursors slightly. So you see the A cursor here is a little bit too far to the right. I can just back that off slightly. And then now we're right where we need to be. So you see here in real time, we're able to measure this event. So if I were to pinch this event, this particular connection, you can see the amount of loss that's induced here. So you're able to measure this real time. So where this comes in handy, again, is if you need to look at a lot of splices or a lot of connectors in a hurry, because there's some sort of a time crunch. I like to do this. I really like to use this this application when I'm looking at connectors midspan. So if you have an optical handoff midspan, you just need to make sure that the patch panel is clean. You can go from one fiber to the other as fast as you can clean and inspect your connections and change them. So I'm going to go ahead and see if I can dirty this connection in the middle a little bit and plug it back in. So now you can see we have quite a bit more reflection, that our markers are out of place a little bit, which can happen. But that's simple. We just move our markers a little bit, and this is what we're measuring now. So so the reflections got a little bit worse here. So if I were to unplug this and clean this, we can see if we can get it any better than what it's at. So I'll go ahead and just do a quick little one-click clean to see if we can get the values a little bit lower. So I clean one side there, and I go ahead and clean the other, plug that back in, and look at that. We have good loss, and we have really good reflection. So you can kind of see the value of this. So in real time, you can really get quick results and instant feedback from the activity that's going on in the field. So you can really see where this application comes in very useful. And that's in a nutshell. That is using the 4-point event loss markers in the EXFO OTDR using real time. Thank you very much.